What's going on, guys? It's Hi with the Upper Left USA, and I don't know about you, but I personally develop a good amount of film. This can take a lot of time, especially when I have a backlog of film rolls that I need to get developed. That's why I was pretty excited when I heard that Cinestill was introducing a new monobath to the market, so I immediately went online and ordered this new monobath called Df96. If you don't know about monobaths, they essentially take all of the individual chemicals that you would normally need for standard black and white film development and condense it down to a single chemical step for a one-step film development process. This means that all you have to do is to develop with the monobath, hang to dry, and scan, and that is it. What makes Df96 interesting is that Cinestill claims it to be the world's fastest film development process for black and white film. If developed at 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius, the film development process only takes 3 minutes. If this is true, then it would only take about a quarter of the time that I normally spend on the film development process. In the grand scheme of things, using Df96 would save me a lot of time. To test this monobath, I went out and shot a roll of JCH Streetpan 400 using my Leica M6 and the 7 Artisans 35mm f2. Now I'm going to take you with me as I develop the exposed roll of JCH Streetpan 400 with Cinestill Df96. The first thing that I'm going to do is to temper my Df96 to 80 degrees Fahrenheit or 27 degrees Celsius. I'm going to be using a constant agitation scheme for 3 minutes and wash for 5 minutes. To constantly agitate my film, I'm going to be using the agitation stick that came with my Patron tank. This just requires me to twist the stick back and forth to get agitation in the reel and chemicals. Now, this is not meant to be a how to develop film video. This is just my first go at using this monobath to develop film and the techniques that I used. If you're interested in learning how to load a development tank, other agitation schemes, or just other aspects of film development, check out my other videos that I've already made on this channel. Once the development time is up, I'm going to pour the monobath back into the container because this is a reusable chemical. Next, I'm going to clean my film by leaving it under running water for 5 minutes. All that's left to do is to hang the film up to dry and we are done with the film development process. Now that I have my film developed and scanned, I'm going to show you a slideshow of the images that I took from this roll of JCH Streetpan 400 being developed in Cinestill Df96. Upon looking at the images, I can tell that they were severely underdeveloped. This is considering that I purposely overexposed some of the images on this roll. It's crazy to think how underdeveloped some of these images are when I look at images like this. In this image, I overexposed for the foreground, and the image was so underexposed that the sky on a bright sunny day was still slightly underdeveloped. So I've used other monobaths in the past and have largely been disappointed. The ones that I have used always seem to be somewhat experimental. By this I mean that even though the monobaths came with instructions for temperatures and times and all of that, the instructions always seemed to be off, and I always had to personally go back and experiment, test to find out the adequate times that I actually need for my desired results. This kind of defeats the idea of using a monobath when it requires more work than standard development itself. The monobaths that I've tried also were not very flexible when it came to pushing and pulling film. I pretty much only had the choice of developing for box speeds once I figured out how to actually use the Monobath for development. Unfortunately, I feel a very similar way about Df96. By following the included instructions, what I got was underdeveloped film. I would highly recommend you to go and watch my video on New 55's R5 Monobath because I feel that a lot of what I said in that video will apply here. My main problem with New 55's R5 Monobath was that it was also really underdeveloping my film. I had to compensate for this underexposure by greatly increasing the temperature of the monobath to pretty much the maximum point of recommended temperature use. Only then was I able to get the expected results. With monobaths, you typically push and pull film by increasing and decreasing the temperature. So by increasing the temperature time of New 55's R5 Monobath, I was essentially pushing it in the development process even though I didn't shoot it with the intention of pushing it. From these initial images from the first roll of developed film with Cinestill Df96, I feel that I'm going to have to do something very similar to get a average expected result. But again, I want to remind you that this is my first time using this monobath to develop film. My results could have been a fluke. I personally doubt this, but I'm going to continue to test this product out, so check back for future findings. Besides this, Cinestill Df96, like other monobaths, typically have some downsides. First, because monobaths are typically reusable, they will not allow you to develop as many rolls of film as if you were just going out and buying the individual chemicals and using the standard development process. With Df96, Cinestill states that you can develop 16 plus rolls of film. How much more than 16? That's up to you for experimentation. It should be noted, however, that because this is a reusable chemical, every time you use it, the monobath becomes less effective. Cinestill recommends that you add 15 seconds of extra development time for every roll previously processed up to 8 minutes. Working the math backwards, it would seem that you can develop a total of 20 rolls of film per container of Df96. However, this is really dependent on the silver content of the film that you develop. Theoretically, you can use Df96 as many times as you want until pretty much you get tired of waiting for the development time or when the chemical itself turns into a silver sludge. Just remember though, shelf life is 1 year, and once you open the bottle, you get 2 months to actually use this product. The monobath will turn yellow with age and amber when it's time to toss it. One thing that I would say though is that if you are a stickler for instructions, and in this particular instance with the shelf life, I would say that 2 months is relatively short of a lifespan for a developing chemical. Even when considering that you get 16 plus rolls of film per container of Df96, doing the math, 16 rolls in 2 months is about 2 rolls a week, and for most people that can be difficult to do, and this is coming from somebody who shoots almost exclusively on film. You should ask yourself if this is something that you can do, or if you even care if you aren't using the chemical to its maximum capacity within the shelf life of an open bottle. Again, that was really only for those who actually care about the recommended shelf life. I know that I personally have stretched out chemicals for a really long time, so we'll just have to see how Df96 lasts over time. Another downside for this product is that it's really only intended for traditional cubic grain film with a high silver content. Df96 can be used for tubular grain film, but that's really up for user experimentation. If you don't know the difference between cubic and tubular grain film, just do a little research to see if the film that you're shooting even meets the requirement for this monobath. Monobaths are also not known for their flexibility when it comes to pushing and pulling film. This is possible with Df96 by changing the temperature up and down by 10 degrees Fahrenheit. But again, if this monobath is really underdeveloping my film, I would have to push the temperature up either way and technically be pushing my film just to get box speeds results. Also, if you're interested in pushing and pulling film with Df96, just know that there is a working temperature range, so you can only push and pull the film so far. So in conclusion, Df96 is a fast way to develop film for those who don't want to carry around additional chemicals, those who don't want to deal with dilution, measuring different times, or anything like that. Df96 is a one-step process to develop your black and white film. With that being said, Df96 for me personally, right now at this moment, is something that I will have to continue to play with because it is not giving me the results that I am expecting. Hopefully the results from this first initial test was just a fluke and the following rolls will work as instructed. But if not, I can only recommend Df96 to those who actually have the time to spend to experiment and to see how to actually use this developer as it was intended. If you're interested in seeing my long-term results and findings, definitely check back to this channel as I'll update it in a future video. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, share this video around, comment down below with any questions that you may have. Don't forget to subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching this video. I'll see you guys in the next one.